Hi folks, my name's Sean Irving. I'm with the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra, and today I want to talk to you about developing melody and improvising using melody. I'm going to break this down in 4 different steps to help you move forwards. Each person's going to start with a different step. Find one that works for you. The important thing to remember with level 1 is just starting to throw paint on the canvas. Some of us have never improvised before, so how can we expect ourselves to be experts right off the beginning? So the first thing I'm going to say, keep it positive. Think about the wording you use when you're criticizing yourself after you improvise, right? Good, bad, that's going to make things hard. So let's start by thinking, what was effective, all right? What might have benefited in our choices? The second thing to think about is the tools that we use to learn how to improvise. You know, it might be great to start with the Joe Henderson tune first, but the changes are a little difficult. So let's set ourselves up with success by picking a tune that the changes are maybe a little less cumbersome. One of the ones I love to use is called So What by Miles Davis. And the nice thing about this, it moves between 2 scales. We have our D minor in concert, and then it moves up to an E flat minor, semitone away. If you're not familiar with your minor scales, we're going to be looking at F major and our F sharp major. So in the beginning, what I really want you to think about is keeping it simple. It doesn't need to be a leapy solo, right? Give yourself time, leave lots of space. Heck, use the melody. The melody is what the song is all based around, right? So why not use the melody? Quote the melody. Use rhythms from the melody. Keep it simple, leave lots of space, record yourself, listen back, and try and keep an agenda or a diary to keep focus of the things that you are noticing and have discussions with other musicians about. Let's start looking at level 2, which is going to focus more in developing rhythm in our soloing. A few different approaches and steps we can take here. Usually the first one I like to do is let's play a whole chorus of a tune and assign a single rhythm to our solos. Do-da-do-da. So maybe for a whole chorus, all I'm going to do is worry about using whole notes, creating ideas with whole notes. Second chorus, let's move to half notes. Third chorus, quarter notes. Fourth chorus, maybe we're going to use eighth notes. Maybe eighth notes are a little fast. Triplets too. Thing is, leave space. It's not about creating the perfect solo. We're thinking about this like an etude or an exercise to develop that skill set. Second thing we can start to think about is what beat do our ideas start on? Well, maybe I'm going to take a solo and I'm just going to start all my ideas on beat 1. Then maybe the end 1, 2, and a 2, so on and so forth. We're trying to find ways to kind of trick our brain into creating new melodic shapes and ideas. And you'd be surprised. If you listen back, you probably notice that you're starting always on the end of 2, or maybe the end of 4, the end of 4, the end of 4. Big band charts kind of ingrained this into us. Last but not least, let's change it up a little bit. Maybe we think about a word that has multiple syllables. Rutabaga. What's not fun about that, right? And use that as a rhythmic source. Rutabaga, rutabaga. And just soloing with that. Do-do-da-do-da, dee-da-da, ba-do-da-do-da. Take your time with this process. With any of these steps, give yourself maybe a week of being comfortable, 2 weeks before you start the next one. Let's move on to level 3. With level 3, we're going to start to get into the harmony side of things, really dealing with our scales. The important thing to remember is, yes, there are a lot of different types of scales, but take them on at a pace that works for you. Don't try and learn all your major, minor, dominant, diminished, all your whole tone scales at once. That seems crazy. Pick one at a time, and pick tunes for this process, which are going to help you to facilitate that in a healthy way without being cumbersome. Great tunes I love to use for this process. You can do Blue Bossa, maybe Record Me, maybe My Little Suede Shoes. For demoing purposes, I'm going to use a song called East of the Sun, West of the Moon by Brooks Bowman. The chords in concert is going to have D major, followed by G7, moving to an F sharp minor 7, and a B7. With this process, what we're going to do is we're going to start on the root of each of those scales. And I'm going to play that scale from the bottom up 1 full octave. Then I'm going to move to the next chord, same process, until I get through the tune. The idea is we want to familiarize our ears with these different scales and changes. Once that gets comfortable, maybe I'm going to start this process off the 3rd of those scales, maybe the 5th, maybe the 7th. Try to find as many different ways to kind of trick yourself. Onwards and upwards. We're at our 4th step now, which is going to be dealing with arpeggios. Arpeggio kind of functions like the DNA of a scale. It's our genetic material. It's what makes up that scale. In this process, we're going to deal with what the arpeggio is, which is that genetic material. So for this exercise, what you're going to do is you're going to start on the root of each chord. All right? So we're going to just play the one note, and then we're going to play the three, we're going to play the fifth, and then we're going to play the seventh. Then in time, we're going to play those arpeggios up and down. We're going to do this on every single chord, or we can vamp between sections. Isolate little chapters so that you're not overwhelmed with trying to do the whole tune at once. Once it feels comfortable to start off the root, try and start off the third. Try and start off the fifth. Try and start off the seventh. At the end of this process, see if you can take a solo only using those arpeggio notes. You're going to find you come up with some pretty cool ideas. All right, I'm going to leave you with a couple closing thoughts here. First of all, keep it positive. Try and find ways of practicing that are going to be positive to your mindset. If it's negative, you're not going to keep up with it. Make sure you're in the right headspace. This happens to professionals too. Second thing, if you're finding that in any of these steps, it's just too much to take on all at once, try and vamp 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 chords at most, and really focus on the exercise at hand. Check out recordings. Find musicians who inspire you. Transcribe those melodies and pull them note by note. Play along with those musicians. That's what's going to get us to the meat and potatoes of their musicianship. That's how you're going to get their inflections, their tone, their style, their swing feel. It's all there. It's just a matter of what we're going to do to get into that process. Talk to buddies about this. You never know what they're listening to, so it's good to check out what they're checking out as well. Try and do some singing over changes. Try and sing along with recordings. Do-va-do-day. Fantastic. You know what? One of the best ways to practice and to really see how comfortable you are with the different sounds and how they interact is trying to sing scat solos over top of tunes. Remember, these processes I've given you are not meant to be the perfect solo. They're to help to build tools in your toolbox to feel more comfortable with soloing. In the end, you're going to hear it when you start to approach soloing.